Good afternoon. We've got individuals here. We've got the Tampa Police Chief Castor. We've got Tampa Fire and EMS Chief Forward. We've got Assistant Commissioner of the FDLE, Jim Madden. We've got the Deputy Chief Sheriff of Hillsborough County, DeCobo. We've got Adjutant General Titshaw with the National Guard. We've got the Tampa EM Coordinator, Chauncey Willis. So what we've been doing all week is making sure at the state, federal, and local level that we gather all the information so everybody is working with the exact same information so we can make the best decisions around the state. And I know there's different issues in Tampa, but we've got to make sure we do this for the entire state of Florida. And we want to also make sure that we're coordinating all the state, federal, and local resources. And that's what the effort has been, everybody involved has been doing all week. We've had, we just finished our 11:15 briefing, including federal, state, and local, RNC. At 10:30, we had a briefing with the utilities around the state. They're focused on making sure they have moved forward resources that they need, and they have done that. They've been deployed. We are experiencing some minor outages down in the southern part of the state. As you know, the tropical storm is starting to hit the Keys right now. The latest is still moving a little bit west as it comes up the coast. But the Keys are clearly going to get hit with tropical storm force winds, in very heavy winds. The Panhandle will be, it still looks like we'll have landfall somewhere in the Panhandle. The issue in the Panhandle is, especially because of Tropical Storm Debbie, the land is still, we're still saturated. So we have a big concern there about flooding. In the Tampa, the biggest issue right now is the concern is going to be wind. But around the state, we've got rain, we've got wind, we've got storm surge, and then we've got the risk of tornadoes. I personally have canceled my. I canceled my activities for the RNC for today and tomorrow, and I've done it for Tuesday. One thing locally in the Tampa area is if you're someone staying close to the beach, stay close to the beach. Don't start venturing into the Tampa side because you don't know what's going to happen as far as your ability to get home. We've also asked locals to minimize travel, but we are going to have. I'm very hopeful that the RNC will have a great convention. Now, for everybody in our state, if you're a resident, you probably already know these things. 3 days of food, 3 days of water. Have your medicines. Fill up your car. Be careful if there's standing water. Don't go into it. If you see power lines down, call somebody. Don't deal with it yourself. Be very, very, very cautious. With regard to the convention, we made sure that the delegates are coming. They have information about how they should act around here with regard, because some of them have never been around a hurricane. Floridians, we deal with these things. Now, as you've seen, the storm has been moving a little bit west, so we're not only worried about what's going to happen to Florida, but now we might need to help other states. And clearly, we're a state that has dealt with hurricanes. We know how to do this, and if it ends up going further west, whether it's Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida will be ready to be helpful. So at this point, any of us can take questions. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything.
What have you been told has been cut from the convention because of the rescheduling due to the hurricane?
All I know is they move forward Monday. You'd have to talk to the convention.
Governor, as you know, there are a lot of ancillary activities. The official convention itself has been postponed. Is it your position that it would be for the benefit of people's safety, for the city resources, et cetera, that some of these other events be canceled as well?
Well, what we try to do at the state, and I think all of us, is try to just make sure the convention and anybody having activities around the convention have all the information, so they can make an informed decision about those events. But while we're on Monday, while we're getting the high winds here in the Tampa-St. Pete area, the people that are staying along the beach, we think it's beneficial for them if they stay over there because the risk of the bridges closing, things like that, the roads closing, flooding, things like that, and they're not going to be as knowledgeable.
What does the storm tell you about Tuesday's activities? Was there any discussion with the RNC officials today about what the storm track might mean for Tuesday?
What we've done is make sure they have all the information so they can make an informed decision. It's their decision.
How long will you be in Tampa, Governor? Do you have any plans to go back to Tallahassee?
I'm going to make I'll make my plans for tomorrow, later today or first thing in the morning. What I'm going to do
Right now, your plans are to be in Tampa, right?
today. My plan is only today to be in Tampa.
As far as this relates to the convention, can you talk a little bit about the distraction that this gives? TVs are focusing now on Louisiana and the storm moving into the Western Gulf, and how is that going to hurt us?
Well, look, the convention was a big opportunity for our state to show what a great place it is to live, work, and play. Now, what they've learned, what they're going to find out this week is we know how to deal with hurricanes. We're prepared. This is a state that knows how to deal with those things. On top of that, we're the best hospitality state around. We have 87 million tourists here a year. We know how to have conventions. We know how to have large events, and we're going to do a great job.
Are people second guessing that choice now? From Tampa during hurricane season?
Well, I think everybody likes to come to Florida, I'm sure that they're going to have a great convention. We're going to make sure our job, and everybody up here has the same job, keep every resident and every visitor in our state safe. And we're going to make sure that happens, and we'll do everything we can to make sure they have a great time.
Governor, what kind of resources are you making available to the local jurisdictions in preparation before this comes through?
Sure. What we do is we go through, as part of our briefings twice a day, we go through all the counties and say, what do you need? Right now, as you know, we have some shelters opening around the state. We don't have a lot of people in our shelters yet, but we have shelters opening, and so as we go through, every county tells us what their needs are. We work with the Red Cross, we work with the Salvation Army, because they're running a lot of these shelters. So we just coordinate activities. Our utilities have moved individuals into the state. They've moved resources here, and we just make sure there's good coordination.
You said we've had some power outages, South Florida, Keys.
Yeah, South Florida and the Keys primarily.
If you had any,
But there's an anticipation of outages, and so we're ready. That's why the utilities, forward deploy individuals to make sure that those outages don't last very long. But there's anticipation of outages.
what have you been told so far about any type of damage that may be going on currently in the Keys? Have you heard anything?
They're going through it right now. I think the highest winds are going to be around 6 p.m. But also, everybody always has to understand these storms. They change. We watched Andrew 20 years ago. In the last hour, it changed direction. So, but right now, there's no damage assessment. They'll be doing that once the winds come down.
Was it the right decision to have the convention in Florida in August?
Well, look, this is a great state. People want to come to our state. We're going to make sure they have a great convention, and I'm very comfortable that it'll end up being a great convention.
Have you heard from Governor Romney himself? Has he been involved in any of these security briefings?
Sure, I spoke directly with Governor Romney twice yesterday and brought him up to speed. He was, first off, his biggest concern was what's happening to the citizens of our state. He wanted to make sure that the 19 million citizens and everybody that is visiting our state is safe. So we talked about that. We talked about our emergency management efforts. So we talked about that, and then he asked about what was happening in the Tampa area. So I went through the things, the same sort of briefing we're doing with the RNC as far as the anticipated storm surge, the wind, the issues with regard to what the wind what impact that would have on our bridges, what impact that would have on the use of buses, things like that.
Governor, can you or one of your folks up there talk about the tents and all the other temporary structures that are up in downtown Tampa right now? What's going to happen with them?
Talk about you.
Yes, those are things that we have talked about with the RNC, and some of the canvas has been taken off the smaller tents, but the structures have been secured with sand barrels, and the larger tents are able to sustain winds higher than 40 miles an hour. So those tents, the larger ones, are going to stay up unless the forecast changes, and then the smaller tents some of those have been taken down.
This wind, what kind of challenge does that create for your officers out there on the streets?
That doesn't create a challenge for us. The weather overall, or the tent issue?
The tent issue or the high winds?
No, the high winds. We're going to do exactly what the governor said: ensure that everyone is safe. Now, this is something that everyone from Florida deals with this time of year every year, and there are a lot of visitors that aren't used to dealing with this, and so it's our job to communicate to them and provide them all of the information. That it's not necessarily the sustained wind, it's the gusts as well. and the rain at some points will be driving. So those are things that we are communicating with all of the visitors to the area and allowing them to make informed decisions. But as far as the police officers are concerned, we're going to be out on the street.
And how are you communicating with the visitors in the area, just making sure they know what's going on?
We have public address systems at our disposal, but right now it's person to person. You know, there are officers throughout the downtown area, and we're making contact with individuals and groups and, the large gathering, those people who have permitted parades and those types of things.
And what exactly are you saying? Are you saying it's not a good idea to be on the streets?
No, we're saying that when the weather gets, right now, the track is moving further and further west. So as it is right now, there'll be high winds and there'll be rains, but it's not going to be something that's going to prohibit anyone from doing what they want to do out on the street. If it changes, which is another issue that we're communicating to everyone, is that the only predictable issue of these storms is the unpredictability. If it changes and it becomes an issue of public safety, then we will order people into safety, into shelter.
Are you planning to do another update later today, Lynn?
Yes, we're having, I believe there's another update this
6
afternoon.
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
So we'll do a briefing. We do a statewide briefing at 5:15, where we go through all the counties, federal, state, and local. We'll make sure that we'll talk about what issues anyone's having, and then we'll do another briefing at 6 p.m. And the intention is to stay here and do this today.
Specify who was involved from the federal level in your planning sessions today?
But we have FEMA's involved. There's already, because of Debbie, there were about 245 FEMA individuals with FEMA in the state. They were ready to bring an additional 100 in, and my understanding is they brought some of those in already. So we have RNC, we've got FEMA, we've got local officials, state officials, and we're at the state level. We're at level 1. So all the statewide agencies are activated 24 hours a day. And basically the whole goal with all this is to keep the state safe. Make sure that everybody has the best information. The National Hurricane Service is on, the National Weather Service, and we're making sure, is anybody seeing something locally different than what we're seeing in our understanding? Because you can't expect people to make the same decision if they're using different information. So we coordinate all the information, the weather information, all that.
Trevor, what's the current plan with the out-of-town law enforcement who are here? I know there was some concern a few days ago. What is the current situation with staffing the home counties, staffing our counties, offering aid to Louisiana, Alabama, that kind of thing?
Well, we I think it was 2 days ago, we went through to see who was going to come because some of the concern. We're fully staffed locally in law enforcement that we have for the state. The National Guard is ready to add more individuals if we need to, so we're ready to do that. Once we know, once we see where the track's going to be up north, if we need to provide resources to another state, then we'll have the resources to do that.
But it won't get pulled from here.
No, it will not get pulled from here.
Trevor, you know why it took me till yesterday afternoon to start with the cancellations? Was it just a matter of confirming the map?
Oh, why on the cancellation? I think from my standpoint, my decision was made based on getting information and to watch where the storm was going, where I should use my time. The RNC, what we kept doing is providing them information so they could make an informed decision. In my discussions with them, I said, what information do you need, and when do you need to make a decision? And so they made their decision last night. So.
Talk a little about what you've been going through these last few days. I mean, this will be your first hurricane as governor to make landfall in the state at a time when, obviously, you were the leaders of the party here in the state.
Sure. So what I've done this week is I organized all the different groups so we can start sharing information. We started having twice a day briefings at 11:15 and 5:15, and just made sure we had all the resources, so everybody had the same information, so we could start making decisions, and then just talk to individuals around the state, whether it was the local elected officials, whether it's law enforcement, emergency management individuals, and say, if there's something you're not getting, make sure here's how to get a hold of me. Make sure you call me, because we'll solve these problems. Then I've been traveling some. I was down in Broward yesterday. I'm here today. I'll make a decision later today where I'll go next, but most likely I'll go down to the Keys. All right. Thank you very much.